Hello guys, welcome to Pickorama Sleep Zone. Tonight, we continue our journey through the Museum of Forgotten Dreams. Episode 3 and Part 2. If you're already resting comfortably, simply close your eyes, breathe gently, and let the rain carry you deeper into tonight's story now. Our journey continues. Some places are never found on any map. They appear only to those who need them the most. Tonight, beyond the rain, the Museum of Forgotten Dreams has opened its doors once again, and one forgotten dream is waiting for you. One lantern slowly drifted downward. It hovered only a few inches above the pond. Its reflection met the real lantern perfectly. The two lights became one. A soft chime echoed across the clearing, almost like distant wind bells carried through gentle rain. Jack watched as another lantern slowly descended, then another. Each paused above the water, touched its reflection, and quietly returned to the sky. The librarian smiled warmly. They come here every night. Jack looked toward him. Why? The old man rested both hands upon his lantern, so they may remember where their light began. Jack looked again toward the floating lanterns. One after another, they repeated the same peaceful journey. Downward, a gentle touch. Then, upward once more. It reminded him of breathing, of resting, of returning home after a long journey. The white fox slowly stood, its bright blue eyes turned toward the far side of the clearing. There, half hidden among the cedar trees, stood a small wooden pavilion. Its roof glistened beneath the rain. Soft golden light shone from within. A single lantern hung beside its entrance. Unlike all the others, its flame burned with a pale silver glow. Jack noticed the librarian become very still. His gentle smile remained, yet his eyes lingered upon the silver lantern. With quiet respect, he spoke, almost in a whisper. There is only one like it. Jack looked at the softly glowing lantern. It feels. He searched for the right word. Different. The librarian nodded. It has waited longer than any other. The rain continued its gentle song. Above the cedar trees, the white fox took a slow step toward the pavilion. Then another, patiently inviting Jack to follow. Somewhere inside that quiet shelter, another peaceful story was waiting to be remembered. The pavilion of gentle goodbyes. The white fox walked quietly across the clearing. Its snowy paws made no sound upon the rain-darkened stones. Jack followed at an unhurried pace. Behind him, hundreds of floating lanterns continued their peaceful dance above the still pond. Their golden reflections shimmered softly like stars resting upon calm water. The gentle chime echoed once more, then faded into the steady rhythm of the rain. Ahead, the small wooden pavilion waited beneath the shelter of ancient cedar branches. Its weathered roof glistened with tiny drops of rain. The silver lantern hanging beside its entrance glowed with a calm, steady light. Unlike every other lantern Jack had seen inside the museum, its flame was neither golden nor amber. It shone with the soft silver glow of moonlight reflected upon fresh snow. The librarian stopped a few steps before the entrance. He lowered his lantern slightly. For several quiet moments, he simply stood there respectfully. Jack noticed the peaceful expression upon the old man's face. Not sadness, not joy, only quiet gratitude. He spoke softly. "Why is this lantern different?" The librarian smiled. "Because not every journey begins with a hello." He looked toward the silver flame. "Some begin with a goodbye." Jack remained silent. The words settled gently between them. The white fox stepped inside the pavilion. Jack followed. The room was beautifully simple. A polished wooden floor, a round cedar table, 3 comfortable chairs, a fireplace resting against the far wall. Its gentle flames crackled quietly, filling the room with warmth. The scent of cedar wood blended with rain, drifting through the open windows. Nothing inside felt grand. Nothing needed to. Peace had always been enough. On the center of the table rested a single leather-bound book. Its cover was pale gray. There was no title, no decoration, only smooth, worn leather softened by countless gentle hands. Jack looked toward the librarian. The old man nodded. "You may open it." Jack carefully lifted the cover. The pages were filled with handwriting. Different handwriting. Some neat, some hurried, some written with elegant, flowing ink. Others with small, uneven letters. He read the first page. "Thank you for walking beside me." The next page. "I hope your mornings are always gentle." Another. "Sleep peacefully. You are deeply loved." Jack slowly turned another page. Every message was short, simple, heartfelt. There were no names, no dates, only words spoken from one heart to another. The white fox quietly curled beside the fireplace. Its bright blue eyes slowly closed. The crackling fire reflected softly across its snowy fur. Jack continued reading. "May every rainy evening bring you comfort." Another page. "Until we meet again. Then, you will always have a place in my heart." Jack quietly closed the book. The room felt warmer somehow. The librarian gently rested one hand upon its cover. Many believe the museum protects forgotten dreams. He smiled kindly, but it also protects forgotten kindness. Jack looked thoughtfully toward the fireplace. "So these words, they were real? They still are," the librarian replied. "Kindness never truly belongs to the past. It continues traveling from one heart to another." Outside, rain tapped softly against the pavilion roof. A peaceful breeze carried the scent of cedar. Through the open doorway, the white fox slowly lifted its head. Its ears turned toward the forest. Somewhere beyond the trees, a quiet bell rang once. Not loud, not urgent, only gentle. The librarian listened for a moment, then smiled. "It seems another room has opened." Jack stood. He took one final look at the quiet pavilion. The warm fire, the simple table, the silver lantern glowing peacefully beside the entrance. Some places ask to be remembered forever. This was one of them. The white fox stepped outside into the gentle rain. Tiny golden lights appeared wherever each raindrop touched its snowy fur. Jack followed. The librarian quietly lifted his lantern once more. Together, the three travelers disappeared beneath the ancient cedar trees. Following another peaceful path deeper into the Museum of Forgotten Dreams, the Hall of Quiet Seasons. The rain followed them gently through the cedar forest, not as a storm, not as a shadow, but as a quiet companion. Jack walked beside the white fox, listening to the soft rhythm of raindrops touching the leaves overhead. Behind them, the warm glow of the pavilion slowly disappeared among the trees, until only the gentle light of the librarian's lantern remained. The forest seemed deeper now, older. The cedar trunks stood farther apart, their bark silvered with age. Soft moss covered the roots, glowing faintly beneath the lantern's golden light. No birds sang, no wind disturbed the branches. Only the peaceful music of the rain filled the silence. After several unhurried minutes, the path widened. Ahead stood another doorway. Unlike the grand bronze gates of the museum, or the quiet wooden door Jack had opened before, this entrance had no doors at all. 4 tall stone arches stood side by side. Each arch was covered with delicate carvings. The first was wrapped in tiny white blossoms. The second carried green ivy and fern leaves. The third was decorated with golden maple leaves. The fourth shimmered beneath patterns of snowflakes carved into pale marble. Jack stopped. "They're beautiful." The librarian smiled. "They have always been here." The white fox quietly walked beneath the first arch. As it crossed, the air changed. The scent of rain became sweeter. Fresh blossoms drifted gently through the air. Jack followed. Beyond the arches lay an enormous, circular hall, unlike any place he had visited before. The room had no ceiling above. The night sky stretched peacefully overhead. Rain continued to fall, yet only inside the hall. Along the outer edge of the chamber stood 4 magnificent gardens. Each existed in a different season to Jack's left. Spring, cherry blossoms floated gently through the air, while small streams wandered between flowering trees. Ahead, summer tall emerald grass moved softly beneath a warm breeze. Wildflowers covered rolling hills beneath drifting white clouds. To his right, autumn. Golden and crimson leaves fell lazily from ancient maples, collecting quietly upon winding stone paths. And behind him, winter. Snow drifted silently beneath silver pines, while warm lanterns glowed beside quiet wooden cabins. Jack slowly turned in a circle. All 4 seasons existed together, perfectly, peacefully. The white fox wandered first toward the spring garden. Tiny butterflies fluttered around its snowy fur before disappearing among the blossoms. Jack smiled. Even here, nothing hurried. The librarian stepped beside him. The museum remembers more than dreams. Jack looked toward the 4 gardens. It remembers time. The old man nodded gently, but not the way people measure it. Jack watched a blossom drift into the summer breeze. Instead of falling, it became a golden maple leaf. The leaf floated onward. As it reached the autumn garden, it transformed into a delicate snowflake. The snowflake drifted across the winter sky. Moments later, it melted into a tiny drop of rain that returned quietly to the spring stream. Everything flowed together. Nothing truly ended. Everything simply became something new. Jack whispered, "So every ending." The librarian finished the thought with a peaceful smile. "Is quietly becoming another beginning." For a long while, they simply walked. Spring became summer. Summer welcomed autumn. Autumn rested into winter. Winter slowly returned to spring. There were no walls separating them, only gentle change. The white fox paused beside a young cherry tree. It rested beneath the falling blossoms for several moments before looking toward Jack. A single white petal landed softly upon his sleeve. He lifted it carefully. It was impossibly light. Before he could brush it away, the petals slowly dissolved into a tiny golden spark. The spark drifted upward, joining countless others already floating above the gardens. Jack watched until it disappeared among the stars. He finally understood. Nothing beautiful was ever truly lost. It simply changed, carrying its quiet light forward, far beyond the winter garden. Another narrow pathway slowly appeared. Stone lanterns lined its edges. Their gentle glow disappeared into the mist beyond. The white fox quietly began walking toward it. The librarian lifted his lantern once more. "The museum is still guiding us." Jack gave one final glance to the Hall of Quiet Seasons. The blossoms, the summer fields, the autumn leaves, the falling snow. Each continued their peaceful dance, without beginning, without ending, only continuing with a calm smile. He followed the white fox into the mist. Somewhere beyond the lantern-lit path, another forgotten wonder was patiently waiting. The Observatory of Quiet Stars. The lantern-lit path disappeared gently into the mist. Jack walked without hurry. The white fox moved gracefully ahead, its snowy fur glowing softly beneath the warm light of the stone lanterns. Behind them, the Hall of Quiet Seasons slowly faded from view. Only the gentle scent of blossoms and rain lingered in the cool evening air. The forest became quieter. The cedar trees gradually gave way to tall silver birches, whose pale trunks shimmered beneath the moonlight. Rain continued to fall, but here, every raindrop seemed lighter, almost weightless. Jack listened. The familiar rhythm of rain was still there. Yet another sound slowly emerged beneath it, a soft, steady hum. Not music, not wind, something quieter, like the peaceful silence that fills the sky just before the first star appears at dusk. The white fox slowed its pace. Ahead, the mist began to lift. Standing upon a gentle hill was a beautiful stone observatory. Its round walls were built from pale limestone, softened by time. Golden ivy climbed gracefully toward its domed roof. Small white flowers bloomed between the stones. At the very top, the dome stood open. Beyond it, the endless night sky stretched peacefully above. Jack stopped for a moment. "It's beautiful." The librarian smiled warmly. "It has always watched the stars." They climbed the gentle stone steps together. The wooden door opened before they reached it. No sound, only welcome. Inside, the observatory was wonderfully simple. A polished wooden floor, curved bookshelves filled with old star charts, comfortable chairs placed beside tall windows, and at the center, an enormous brass telescope. Its polished surface reflected the soft glow of the lantern. The white fox quietly circled the telescope before sitting beside it, its bright blue eyes turned upward toward the open sky. Jack stepped closer. The telescope looked ancient, yet lovingly cared for. Its brass handles shone warmly beneath the lantern light. Tiny constellations had been carefully engraved along its frame. The librarian rested one hand upon the telescope. "This instrument has never searched for distant worlds." Jack looked at him. "What does it look for?" The old man smiled gently. "It remembers the quietest stars." Jack tilted his head slightly. "The quietest stars?" The librarian nodded. "Not every star wishes to be the brightest. Some simply shine, so travelers never lose their way." Jack looked through the telescope. He expected to see distant galaxies or endless constellations instead. He saw something entirely different. A single cottage resting beneath a peaceful night sky. Warm light glowed through its windows. Rain tapped gently against the roof. Inside, someone sat beside a fireplace reading a book. The scene felt calm, comfortable, safe. The image slowly faded. Another appeared, a young child sleeping peacefully while a parent quietly tucked the blanket around them. Then, another, an elderly couple sitting together on a wooden porch, watching stars appear one by one after sunset. None of the moments were extraordinary. None changed the world. Yet every one of them filled Jack with quiet warmth. He stepped back from the telescope. "I didn't see stars." The librarian smiled. "You did." Jack looked puzzled. The old man lifted his lantern slightly. "The brightest stars are not always above us. Sometimes they live inside the smallest moments of kindness." Jack remained silent. The words felt perfectly at home within the museum. Outside, the rain softened until only a gentle whisper remained. Clouds slowly drifted apart. For the first time that evening, a sky filled with countless stars appeared above the open dome. The white fox quietly stood. It walked toward the center of the observatory and looked upward. One star shone just a little brighter than the others. Not dazzling, simply peaceful. Its gentle silver light slowly entered through the open dome. The beam touched the brass telescope, then drifted silently across the wooden floor. Finally, it rested upon a small circular door, hidden beneath the observatory floor. Jack had not noticed it before. A delicate pattern of stars began glowing around its edges. The librarian watched quietly. "It seems," he whispered, "the museum has opened another path." The white fox stepped toward the hidden door. Its bright blue eyes met Jack's for only a moment. Then it looked back at the softly glowing entrance. Patiently waiting, Jack took one slow breath. Beyond that quiet doorway, another forgotten chapter of the museum was ready to reveal itself. The chamber beneath the stars. For a few quiet moments, no one moved. The silver beam from the night sky rested gently upon the circular door beneath the observatory floor. It neither brightened nor faded. It simply waited. The white fox stood beside it, its snowy fur glowing softly beneath the starlight. Jack stepped closer. The stone floor was cool beneath his feet. Around the hidden door, 12 tiny stars had appeared, carved so delicately into the marble that they seemed almost invisible until now. Each one shimmered with a calm silver light. The librarian lowered his lantern. "The museum has many paths," he said softly, "but only a few are opened by the stars." Jack knelt beside the circular door. There was no handle, no lock, only the ring of 12 glowing stars. He looked toward the librarian. "How does it open?" the old man smiled. "It already has." Jack looked back. At first, nothing seemed different. Then he noticed it. The stone wasn't moving downward. It was becoming transparent. Slowly, the marble faded like morning mist. Beneath it appeared a graceful spiral staircase, descending into a warm golden light far below. Not darkness, light. The white fox quietly began walking down the stairs. Its footsteps made no sound. Jack followed. The librarian came last, carrying the lantern, whose gentle glow blended perfectly with the light rising from below the staircase, curved slowly. Its walls were carved from smooth white stone. Tiny constellations shimmered overhead, flowing across the ceiling as peacefully as drifting clouds. The air grew warmer. It carried the familiar scent of cedarwood, old paper, and fresh rain. Everything about the museum felt comforting, as though every hallway had been built to welcome weary hearts. After what felt like several peaceful minutes, the staircase reached the bottom. Jack stepped into another quiet chamber. Unlike the grand halls above, this room was small. Perfectly round at its center stood a single tree. It wasn't tall, perhaps no higher than Jack's shoulders. Its trunk was pale silver, smooth as polished birch. Its branches stretched outward in every direction instead of leaves. Tiny glass stars hung delicately from every branch. Hundreds of them. They moved gently, although no wind touched them. Whenever two stars brushed together, a soft chime echoed through the chamber. The sound was delicate, almost like distant wind bells heard through gentle rain. Jack slowly walked toward the tree. Each hanging star reflected a different sky. One held a quiet sunrise, another reflected falling snow, One shimmered with gentle rain beneath amber street lamps. Another showed countless stars above a peaceful ocean. The white fox sat quietly beneath the tree. Its bright blue eyes watched the glass stars sway gently. Overhead, the librarian approached slowly. This tree has stood here since the museum was first imagined. Jack looked around. It doesn't look ancient. The old man smiled. Peace rarely does. Jack reached toward one of the tiny glass stars. Before his fingertips touched it, the star glowed softly. Inside, he saw a familiar image, a child sleeping peacefully while rain tapped gently against the bedroom window. The child's breathing was slow, calm, safe. The image slowly disappeared. The glass star became clear once again. Jack smiled. Another star caught his attention. Inside it, an elderly man quietly watered flowers beneath the first light of morning. No words, no hurry, only peace. Jack understood. These weren't dreams. They were moments of quiet living. The kind people often forgot because they seemed too ordinary. Yet the museum remembered them, every single one. The librarian rested one hand upon the silver trunk. The world often celebrates extraordinary moments. He looked toward the gently swaying stars. But peaceful lives are built from ordinary ones. Jack remained silent. The truth needed no explanation. Above them, one small glass star suddenly shone brighter than all the others. Its silver light slowly drifted downward like a falling feather. Instead of touching the floor, it stopped gently before Jack, floating quietly in the air. The white fox stood. It looked from the glowing star to Jack, then back again. The librarian's smile grew softer. It has chosen to show you something. Jack took one slow breath. The little star drifted silently toward another narrow doorway, hidden behind the silver tree. Its gentle light illuminated the path ahead. Without speaking, Jack followed. The white fox walked beside him. Behind them, the silver tree continued its peaceful song of tiny chiming stars. And somewhere beyond the next doorway, another quiet wonder was already waiting. The window that waited until dawn. The little glass star drifted slowly through the narrow doorway. Its silver light was gentle, never too bright, just enough to guide the path ahead. Jack followed without speaking. The white fox walked quietly beside him, its snowy fur glowing softly beneath the tiny star's reflection. Behind them, the delicate chiming of the silver tree gradually faded into silence. The passage beyond was unlike any corridor Jack had seen before. Its walls were built from smooth white stone, polished until they reflected the soft light like calm water. There were no lanterns, no paintings, no shelves filled with books, only countless tiny stars embedded within the ceiling. They shimmered peacefully, as though the night sky had quietly settled underground. The air felt wonderfully still. Jack could hear only 3 sounds: his slow footsteps, the gentle rhythm of his breathing, and somewhere far away, the familiar whisper of falling rain. The passage curved gently. After several peaceful moments, it opened into a quiet room, unlike any other. The chamber was empty, almost. Only a single window stood at its center. It did not rest within a wall. Instead, it stood alone upon a smooth stone pedestal, as though the museum had built the entire room simply to protect it. The window was tall and graceful. Its wooden frame was carved from pale oak, softened by time. Tiny ivy leaves curled delicately around its edges. Drops of rain rested upon the glass, yet no roof stood above it. Jack stepped closer. Beyond the window, nothing, only soft white mist. The white fox approached quietly. His heart softened. He knew this place. It was his city. The same peaceful streets he had walked countless evenings before discovering the museum. The rain continued falling beyond the glass. People carried umbrellas. A bicycle rolled quietly across the wet stones. Light glowed warmly through the windows of nearby homes. Nothing extraordinary happened. Life simply continued. Peacefully, Jack smiled. It feels... He searched for the right word. Close. The librarian stood beside him. It is. Jack looked toward the old man. Is this happening now? The librarian nodded gently. The museum never forgets the world beyond its walls. Jack returned his gaze to the window. The scene slowly changed. The rain eased. Clouds drifted apart. Far upon the eastern horizon, a faint silver light appeared. Not sunrise. Not yet. Only the quiet promise that morning would eventually arrive. The white fox stood. It gently touched the window with its nose. Tiny circles of light spread across the glass like ripples upon still water. Then, something beautiful happened. The people walking through the quiet street all paused for a brief moment. Not because they saw the museum. They couldn't. Instead, each looked upward toward the brightening sky. One person smiled. Another took a slow, peaceful breath. Someone gently closed an umbrella and listened to the final drops of rain. The moment lasted only a heartbeat. Then, life quietly continued. Jack watched thoughtfully. They'll never know this place exists. The librarian smiled. They don't need to. The museum isn't waiting to be found. It simply waits until someone needs hope. The words settled gently into the silence. Jack understood. The museum had never hidden itself. It had simply been patient. Outside the window, the first golden ray of dawn touched the rooftops. Rain shimmered like tiny diamonds before quietly disappearing. Morning had arrived. The little silver star returned from the window frame. It floated peacefully toward another archway, hidden behind a curtain of ivy at the far end of the room. The white fox turned to follow. Its bright blue eyes met Jack's for a single quiet moment. Then it continued onward. Jack gave one last glance to the window. The city beyond had awakened, but inside the museum, the night still lingered. He smiled softly, then followed the white fox once more toward whatever peaceful wonder waited beyond the ivy-covered arch, the Library of Morning Light. The ivy-covered archway welcomed them in silence. As Jack stepped through, the air changed. The familiar scent of rain still lingered, but now it was joined by something new. Fresh cedar, warm tea, and bread just beginning to bake. Somewhere far away, it reminded him of early mornings, before the world fully awakened. The white fox walked ahead at its usual gentle pace. The little silver star floated above its head for a few more moments, then slowly dissolved into countless tiny sparks that disappeared into the quiet air. Its task was complete. The corridor beyond was short, sunlight soft and pale filtered through tall, arched windows, painting golden patterns across the stone floor. Jack paused. "This light," he whispered. "It feels different." The librarian smiled. "It is the first light." Jack looked at him. "The first light?" "The light that arrives before the world becomes busy." They continued walking. Soon, the corridor opened into a magnificent library. It was unlike the endless halls Jack had explored before. This library was smaller, more intimate. Its shelves curved in a perfect circle around the room. The wood was pale oak, polished smooth by time. Between the shelves stood tall windows overlooking quiet gardens still covered in gentle morning mist. Birds rested peacefully among the branches outside. None sang, not yet. The morning was still listening. In the center of the room stood a long cedar table. Upon it rested dozens of open journals. Each journal was different. Some were bound in soft blue cloth, others in weathered brown leather. A few were wrapped in simple linen. None carried names. Jack approached carefully. The nearest journal lay open to a single page. Its handwriting was neat and graceful. It read, "This morning, I finally forgave myself." Nothing more, no explanation, only that one sentence. Jack turned to the next journal. "Today I noticed the rain. Instead of rushing through it, another page. Someone smiled at me, and somehow the whole day felt lighter." He slowly walked around the table. Each journal held only one quiet moment. Nothing dramatic, nothing extraordinary. Simple mornings, gentle beginnings, small choices that quietly changed someone's day. The white fox sat beside the table. Its blue eyes moved calmly from one journal to another. The librarian rested his lantern upon the cedar wood. For the first time since entering the museum, the lantern's golden flame became almost invisible beneath the growing morning light. Jack noticed. The old man smiled knowingly. Morning brings its own lantern. Jack looked toward the windows. Outside, the mist was slowly lifting. Golden sunlight touched the tops of the cedar trees. Tiny drops of rain sparkled upon every leaf. The museum itself seemed to breathe more slowly, almost peacefully content. Jack looked back at the journals. "Who writes these?" The librarian folded his hands before him. "No one comes here to write." Jack frowned slightly. Then They write themselves. Jack remained quiet. The old man continued. Whenever someone begins a new day with hope, whenever they choose kindness over anger, whenever they find peace after a difficult night, a page quietly appears. Jack looked around the circular library once more. There were hundreds of journals, perhaps thousands, yet none felt heavy. Together, they formed something gentle, a reminder that every sunrise carried another chance to begin again. A robin landed upon the windowsill. It tilted its head curiously before singing a single clear note. Only one. Then it flew peacefully back into the garden. The white fox stood, its ears turned toward the far side of the library. There, hidden between two towering bookshelves, a narrow staircase slowly revealed itself. Jack was certain it had not been there a moment before. The steps were carved from pale stone. Sunlight rested softly upon each one. They seemed to rise toward a place the morning itself wished to protect. The librarian picked up his lantern once more. Its gentle flame flickered warmly. The museum is showing us its final morning path. Jack nodded. He took one last look at the quiet journals. Each page held a beginning, a gentle reminder that even the smallest step could lead to something beautiful. With a peaceful smile, he followed the white fox toward the sunlit staircase. Somewhere above, another quiet wonder was waiting beneath the first light of a new day. The stairway to the quiet bell. The pale stone staircase rose gently through the heart of the museum. Each step seemed untouched by time. No dust, no footprints, only the soft glow of the morning light resting upon smooth white stone. Jack followed the white fox without speaking. Behind him, the library of morning light slowly disappeared below, its quiet journals, its peaceful windows, its promise of new beginnings, all settled gently into memory. The staircase curved upward in a slow spiral. Tall, arched windows appeared along the outer wall through each one. The museum revealed another peaceful view. From one window, Jack saw the lantern grove. Golden lanterns still floated above the quiet pond, though their light had softened beneath the growing dawn. From another, the Hall of Quiet Seasons rested in perfect harmony. Spring blossoms drifted into summer fields. Autumn leaves became winter snow. Nothing hurried, nothing paused. The seasons continued their endless dance. Jack smiled. Every place they had visited remained exactly as it should be. The museum never left anything behind. It simply continued. The white fox paused beside the highest window outside. The rain had almost ended. Only a few gentle drops still fell from the pale morning sky. Beyond the cedar forest, a faint rainbow appeared. Not bright, not vivid, only a delicate ribbon of color stretching quietly across the distant hills. Jack watched it for a long moment. It almost disappears if I look too closely. The librarian smiled. Some beautiful things ask only to be noticed. He lifted his lantern. Its golden flame had grown smaller than ever. Not because it was fading, but because the morning light now filled the staircase. Jack noticed the change. "Your lantern," The old man looked down at its gentle flame. It shines brightest during the night. He smiled warmly. But every lantern knows when to let the morning lead. Jack nodded. The museum had taught him that too. There was a time for stars, a time for lanterns, and a time to welcome the sunrise. They continued climbing. At last, the staircase reached a small circular landing. At its center stood a single bronze bell. It was smaller than Jack had imagined, simple, elegant. Its surface had weathered into soft shades of gold and brown. Tiny vines curled naturally around its base. Above it, the ceiling had opened to the sky. Morning clouds drifted peacefully overhead. The white fox walked to the bell. It sat quietly beside it, not waiting, simply keeping it company. Jack stepped closer. Unlike every bell he had heard inside the museum, this one remained silent. He turned toward the librarian. "Doesn't it ring?" The old man rested his hand lightly upon the smooth bronze. "It rings only once each morning." Jack looked upward. "But dawn has already come." The librarian nodded gently. "For the world. Only once." Its gentle tone spread across the museum like ripples across still water. The sound was warm, deep, comforting. It carried no urgency, no command, only welcome. Jack listened as the notes slowly drifted into silence. For a brief moment, he felt as though every room they had visited answered in return. The lanterns, the silver tree, the quiet river, the gardens, the observatory, the library, all of them seemed connected by that single peaceful sound. The bell became still once more. The librarian smiled. "It has greeted another morning." Jack looked out across the endless cedar forest. Mist was lifting from the trees. Golden sunlight rested gently upon every leaf. The museum felt wonderfully quiet, as though it, too, were enjoying the first moments of a new day. The white fox stood. Beyond the bell tower, a narrow wooden bridge slowly appeared, leading toward a small stone pavilion, standing alone above the forest. Warm golden light glowed softly through its windows. The librarian looked toward it with a familiar, gentle smile. "There is one final place." Jack took a slow, peaceful breath. Together, he, the white fox, and the librarian stepped onto the narrow bridge, leaving the quiet bell behind as they made their way toward the museum's last waiting wonder, the pavilion at the edge of morning. The narrow wooden bridge stretched quietly above the cedar forest. Beneath it, the morning mist drifted lazily between the ancient trees. Drops of rain still clung to every branch, catching the first golden light of dawn. Jack walked slowly. The white fox moved just ahead, its snowy fur glowing softly beneath the peaceful morning sky. Behind them, the bronze bell tower faded into the gentle silence of the museum. The bell had spoken. Now only stillness remained. The bridge was longer than it first appeared. Its weathered wooden planks creaked ever so softly beneath their footsteps, not with age, but with welcome. At the far end stood the small stone pavilion. It rested alone above the forest, surrounded by white climbing roses that bloomed quietly along its walls. Its windows were open. Warm golden curtains moved gently in the morning breeze. No rain fell here, only soft sunlight. The white fox reached the entrance first. It paused beside the doorway. As always, it waited for Jack. He stepped inside. The room was beautifully simple. A round wooden table stood beside wide windows, overlooking the endless cedar forest. A kettle rested above a small fireplace, where gentle flames crackled peacefully. 3 porcelain teacups waited upon the table. Steam slowly rose from each one. Jack smiled. They were expecting us. The librarian entered quietly behind him. I believe they always were. The old man placed his lantern upon the table. For the first time, its golden flame quietly faded. Not suddenly, not sadly. It simply became part of the morning light, filling the room. The lantern itself remained peaceful, complete. Jack looked toward it. The light is gone. The librarian smiled gently. It isn't gone. It has finished guiding us through the night. Jack understood. Some lights were meant for darkness. Others trusted the sunrise to continue the journey. The white fox settled comfortably beside the fireplace. Its bright blue eyes slowly closed. For the first time since Jack had met it, it looked completely at rest, as though it knew its work for this night had been fulfilled. Jack sat beside the window. The warm teacup rested comfortably between his hands. Outside, the forest stretched farther than the eye could see. Morning mist drifted peacefully between the towering cedars. Birds had begun their gentle songs. A robin landed upon the windowsill. It sang once, then quietly flew away. The museum itself felt different now, not because it had changed, but because Jack had. He no longer searched for answers. He no longer wondered why the museum appeared only on certain nights. Some mysteries were never meant to be solved, only cherished. The librarian poured another cup of tea. Its gentle aroma filled the quiet room. After several peaceful moments, he finally spoke. "Do you remember what I told you on your very first visit?" Jack thought carefully, then smiled. "You said, 'Dreams are felt.'" The old man nodded. "And now?" Jack looked out toward the endless forest, toward the rain-washed paths, the lantern groves, the quiet river, the silver tree, the peaceful halls that had welcomed him once again. He spoke softly. "I think the museum was never really about dreams." The librarian waited. Jack smiled. "It was about hope." The old man's eyes shone warmly. "I was hoping you would discover that yourself." A comfortable silence settled over the pavilion. No one felt the need to say anything more. The fire crackled gently. The tea remained warm. Morning sunlight slowly filled every corner of the room. Outside, the last tiny drops of rain slipped from the cedar branches. The white fox quietly stood. It walked toward the open doorway. There it paused, looking back at Jack one final time. Its bright blue eyes held the same calm kindness they always had. Then it stepped into the morning mist. Its white form slowly disappeared among the ancient trees, not because it was leaving forever, but because it trusted that Jack now knew the way. The librarian lifted his weathered lantern. Though its flame no longer burned, it still seemed to carry warmth. He smiled. "The museum will wait." Jack nodded. "I know. It always does." Together, they stepped outside. The cedar forest shimmered beneath the fresh morning light. Far behind them, the Museum of Forgotten Dreams stood peacefully among the trees. Its great bronze doors slowly closed, without sound, without hurry, as though taking one final quiet breath before returning to its patient sleep. Jack stood for a long moment, then turned toward the forest path leading home. He walked beneath the tall cedars with an unhurried heart. The morning air felt fresh, the world felt gentle, and somewhere behind him, hidden beyond the rain, the trees, and the silence, the museum waited, just as it always had, for the next weary traveler who needed to remember that even the smallest light could guide them home. And so, the Museum of Forgotten Dreams returned to its quiet sleep, hidden beyond the rain, beyond the cedar trees, patiently waiting for the next traveler who needed hope. But somewhere, deep within the endless halls, one door remained unopened. The white fox had seen it. The librarian had never spoken of it. And behind that forgotten door, a dream had been waiting, for longer than anyone could remember. Perhaps, when the rain returns, we will walk that path together. Until then, may your dreams be gentle, your heart be peaceful, and your night filled with quiet stars. This is Pickorama's Sleep Zone. Good night.